Without any warning, I received the devastating news of my mother-in-law's passing. Naturally, I felt compelled to attend the funeral, but my husband's reaction stunned me. "Don't you dare come. You've got it," he yelled, his words laced with venom. Confusion clouded my mind. "What are you talking about? She's passed away. What kind of daughter-in-law wouldn't go to the funeral?" I retorted, trying to comprehend his hostility. "My mom hated you. Don't even think about showing up. You'll be a nuisance," he spat, his tone cutting through the air like a blade. Though my relationship with my mother-in-law had never been close, the notion of not attending her funeral felt beyond disrespectful. Ignoring my husband's harsh words, I made my way to the funeral hall, despite its distance. As I arrived, I witnessed my husband leading the mourning rites. Confusion gripped me. "Wait, what's going on here? Whose funeral is this?" I demanded, my heart pounding with unease. What followed shattered my reality, revealing a truth too shocking to fathom. "My name is Sophia. I'm 30 years old, married to William for 3 years. But our once great relationship now teeters on the brink of collapse. The root of our troubles lies in my husband's unilateral decision-making. When we married, he insisted I become a housewife, abandoning my job. Initially, this arrangement seemed fine, but cracks soon emerged. In our second year of marriage, my living expenses were drastically slashed from $11,000 to a mere $500 per month. "William, $500 is impossible. I cover rent, you handle utilities and groceries," I reasoned, struggling to make ends meet. But he remained obstinate, leaving me no choice but to stretch every penny. However, with William's hearty appetite, even basics became luxuries. Watching my savings dwindle, panic set in. What would happen when my account hit zero? With no sign of an increased budget, I knew I had to take action. Despite the challenges, I resolved to return to work, even if only part-time. I should be able to generate an extra income of between $800 to $900 a month. That additional money would undoubtedly alleviate some of our financial strain. That evening, I broached the topic with my husband, hoping for his support. His reaction was immediate and harsh. "Work? You can't be serious." "No way," he scoffed, recoiling at the suggestion. "Why not? This would give us some breathing room. If life is tough, it's because you're bad at budgeting. It's your fault," I countered, frustration creeping into my voice. "I've done all I can, but life is still hard. That's why I've been considering other options," I continued, my resolve hardening. "Playing the victim, huh? You can't live because of me? How dare you even say that?" he retorted dismissively, his words stoking the flames of my anger. Before I knew it, I was unleashing my pent-up emotions, my voice rising louder than I had ever intended. "Enough is enough. You're the one who wanted me to be a housewife. Since when does yelling solve anything? I just want you to understand," I pleaded, my desperation palpable. "How can anyone make ends meet with just $500? Shut up. Stop blaming others. Think of something else, you loser," he shot back, his words a cruel blow. With a final contemptuous shove, he stormed out of the room, leaving me crumpled on the floor, tears streaming down my face. Why is this happening? All I wanted was a peaceful married life. I sobbed, the weight of our struggles crushing me, the need to confide in someone gnawed at me. But my parents lived too far away, and visiting them was no easy feat. My in-laws, though closer, were estranged, their relationship with my husband strained. As for my former coworkers and friends, distance and circumstance had created an insurmountable divide. Alone and afraid, I found myself trapped in a marriage filled with uncertainty. Yet, amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged. My husband's absence grew more pronounced as he threw himself into work, leaving me to navigate our strained relationship alone. With fewer mouths to feed and less need for groceries, I found solace in the simplicity of our dwindling provisions. And as the boundaries of my confinement blurred, I seized the opportunity to carve out a path of my own, reclaiming my independence as I began to work from home. Now making about $700 a month, I found myself embracing a more independent lifestyle, especially during my husband's frequent absences. This pattern has persisted for roughly a year. Recently, his work commitments have intensified, leaving him little time at home. And when he does return, his demeanor has grown increasingly hostile, punctuated by harsh words and insults. To compound matters, he stopped providing any financial support for our living expenses. Then, one fateful day, an unexpected event unfolded. Upon his return from work, my husband appeared visibly shaken. Without preamble, he announced, "My mom is dead." Stunned, I struggled to comprehend his words. "Are you joking?" I managed to stammer, my mind reeling. His response was swift and cold. "Why would I lie about something like this?" He snapped. "I'll go to the funeral alone. You stay here." Caught off guard by his abrupt declaration, I couldn't help but protest. "Wait, what? Why would you go alone to your mother's funeral?" "She's my mom too," I countered, my confusion mounting. His dismissive reply only fueled my frustration. "You don't need to come. I'm enough for my mom's funeral," he declared firmly. "Are you serious?" I retorted, struggling to comprehend his reasoning. His impatience was palpable. "Just don't come to the funeral. Got it?" he snapped, his tone final. "What are you talking about? What kind of daughter-in-law doesn't attend her mother-in-law's funeral?" I shot back, incredulous. His response was chilling. "Enough. Mom hated you. Okay. Just don't show up at the funeral." His words struck like a blow. "What? My mother-in-law hated me?" I gasped, unable to process his revelation. "Yes, exactly. So even if you did come to the funeral, my deceased mom wouldn't be happy," he concluded coldly, leaving me speechless. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A sharp pang pierced my chest as the harsh reality was laid bare before me. Seeing my distress, my husband let out an exasperated sigh. "Enough already. If Mom hated you, Dad feels the same. Your presence would just make everyone uncomfortable." "Fine, I get it. Just stop," he insisted, his tone weighted with frustration. "You better," he added sternly. "All right, don't come to the funeral," he pressured, leaving me no choice but to acquiesce. 2 days later, in the early hours of the morning, my husband bustled about, preparing for the day ahead. As he disappeared into the bathroom, I noticed his discarded pajamas and his phone left unlocked on the table. Curiosity piqued, I glanced at the screen, revealing directions to the venue for the day. Something felt amiss. The location indicated a 40-minute drive from home, but it wasn't towards William's family home. It would take at least an hour and a half to reach his parents' house from there. Why choose a location so far away? Lost in thought, I barely noticed my husband's return. Hastily, I scooped up the pajamas, making sure he didn't catch on to my snooping. "I'm leaving," he announced, striding out the door. Still unsettled by the discrepancy, I decided to attend my mother-in-law's funeral, dressed in somber attire. Upon arrival, my suspicions only grew. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The room was filled with unfamiliar faces, occupying seats typically reserved for family and staff. And there was my husband, standing at the front, delivering a speech as the chief mourner. "Thank you all for gathering here today in honor of my wife," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "What is this?" I thought, my mind reeling. Riley was William's wife. William, shedding tears, played the role of the grieving husband convincingly. Normally, I would have confronted him immediately, but the solemnity of the moment held me back. Then, I overheard a conversation from some women seated behind me. "Did you hear? The chief mourner is divorced." "Really?" He seemed so steady. "Yeah, his previous wife was a handful, you know. Apparently, she left him with a huge debt. A debt that's troublesome. Finally, she left. The divorce papers and all. He met his current wife soon after, even knowing she was sick and wouldn't live long. They got married because they were in love. So it's a love story, huh?" The truth hit me like a tidal wave. I had never left. Anger surged within me as I realized the narrative had been twisted. I had to confirm it once more. Upon checking, I discovered that our divorce had indeed been finalized about 6 months ago. My husband must have met his now ailing wife soon after and hastily married her. The reason for his frequent absences became painfully clear. He was living a new life with her. Connecting the dots, my anger reached its boiling point. He had erased me from the family register and married another woman behind my back. Enough with the insults already. "Will," I seethed silently. "This is it. I've had enough." With revenge burning in my heart, I hailed a taxi and made my way straight to my mother-in-law's place. I directed the driver to the place I suspected she'd be, navigating from memory as best as I could. Miraculously, we arrived without incident. Pressing the doorbell, I greeted my lively mother-in-law with a cheerful hello. Her eyes widened in surprise as she laid eyes on me. "Oh, my Sophia, is that you? It's been such a long time," she exclaimed warmly. "Mother-in-law, you look well." You look good too, I replied with a small smile. Sophia, what brings you here? She inquired, curiosity evident in her voice. I came unannounced, but there's something urgent I need to talk to you about. I confessed, my tone serious. Something you have to tell me. And so I poured out my heart to my mother-in-law, recounting every detail of the mistreatment I endured from her son. I shared how I struggled to make ends meet, how he had already divorced me without my knowledge, and how his actions left me broken. Tears welled up as I spoke, and soon I found myself sobbing uncontrollably. My mother-in-law gently rubbed my back, offering solace in her touch. Sophia, I'm so sorry you've had to go through all this. My idiot son, please forgive me, she pleaded, her voice laced with remorse. It's okay. I should apologize for showing up and burdening you with this, I replied, attempting to regain composure. Why didn't you come to me sooner? She asked, genuine concern evident in her eyes. William told me you didn't like me. Suddenly, realization dawned on me. My mother-in-law and I had been deliberately kept apart. My husband likely feared our bond, especially if it threatened his schemes. Unbeknownst to me, he had manipulated his family into believing I was sick and incapable of working, painting a false narrative to solicit financial assistance. But now, armed with the truth, I knew it was time to confront him. I had nothing to fear as I confided in my mother-in-law about my plan for revenge. Despite the funeral having ended, a few lingering attendees remained. Seizing the opportunity, I approached one of them under the guise of an acquaintance. Excuse me, do you know where the deceased's family lives? I couldn't make it to the funeral and I want to bring some flowers later, I explained. With a little deception, I obtained the address of my husband's mistress's family home. The following day, armed with funeral flowers, I made my way to their doorstep. A grief-stricken woman, likely the mistress's mother, answered the door. Introducing myself as a friend, I was invited inside. As I was led to the room with the family altar, I spotted my husband among the mourners. Sophia, what are you doing here? He exclaimed, his shock evident. Before he could react, I disclosed the truth. I'm sorry for lying. I am this man's ex-wife, I declared, facing his stunned expression. Ex-wife, why would you be here? He sputtered, clearly taken aback. Your daughter and I were both deceived by this man. I found out just yesterday at Riley's funeral that I was divorced. I continued, my voice trembling with anger. As Riley's father demanded an explanation, the atmosphere shifted drastically. William's face paled under the weight of his wrongdoing. Emboldened by their support, I confronted him further, demanding accountability. Just then, the doorbell rang, and Riley's mother returned with my mother-in-law in tow. As my mother-in-law berated him, William's facade crumbled. It turned out that he had not only lied about needing money for Riley, but had also gambled away the borrowed funds. In the end, he was expelled from Riley's home and faced legal consequences. Ignoring his tearful pleas, justice was served. As I turned my back with my mother-in-law and began to walk away, a desperate voice called out from behind me. Kindly wait, he pleaded. Slowly, I turned around to face him. What, Sophia? I'm really sorry. Can we start over? He implored, his tone filled with desperation. Excuse me, if you don't help, I'll be sued, he added urgently. Don't worry, I plan on suing you too, I responded firmly, my resolve unwavering. What? He exclaimed, taken aback by my declaration. Yes, I've already made up my mind. After all the unjust treatment and being served with fake divorce papers, I'll sue you through a lawyer. Please forgive me, he pleaded, his voice tinged with remorse. Fuming, I unleashed my pent-up feelings on him. Do you think saying sorry will make everything okay? Do you even understand what you've done? I demanded, my anger palpable. Filing for divorce without telling me is a legal issue, you know. Your apologies are worthless because you've been lying and asking for financial support, utterly worthless. I continued, my voice laced with disdain. Sophia, wait, please, he pleaded, but I silenced him with a stern look. Quiet. Do you have any idea how many people you've hurt with your actions? What you've done isn't easily forgivable. Even a lifetime of making amends won't be enough. So from now on, stay out of my life. If you show up again, I won't hesitate to ruin you, I warned, my tone final. As my mother-in-law's hand touched my back, her warmth almost brought me to tears. Afterwards, William ended up paying back the $10,000 he borrowed from Riley's father in one lump sum. Additionally, he had to pay me alimony and a fine for forgery. His salary was never that high to begin with, and the financial hit seemed to hurt him quite a bit. He had to go into debt to pay the alimony, and now he's even receiving collection calls at work. It's only a matter of time before he loses his job. As for me, I returned to my old job immediately after the divorce. Now I'm living in an apartment near my workplace and enjoying peaceful days. Since then, I've been meeting with my mother-in-law regularly, updating each other on our lives. I feel our relationship has deepened even more after the divorce. My mother-in-law stood by me as we took our stand against her own son. I plan to cherish her as a second mother from here on out.